It's September 5th, 2007. It was a warm, cozy Wednesday afternoon in San Francisco. A man in his mid-30s was sleeping peacefully in his apartment. At about 2 p.m., there was a sudden knock on his door. As he opened the door, before he could react, 6 cops stormed into his room. Their guns were drawn, aimed at his head, and they were shouting orders. The man sat upright and screamed, but the cops let him dress before putting him in handcuffs. As for the police, it was a big day, as they had just bagged one of the most infamous hackers in American history. Max Ray Butler. Who was this man? What did he do to get arrested? And why were the feds so desperate to take him down? Get ready to learn why and so much more as we dive into the dark side of dollars, because this is the wild, true story of how one hacker conquered the dark web. Max Ray Butler was an ordinary kid from Meridian, Idaho. He lived with his parents, went to school, and had a bunch of friends. Max's dad owned a computer store in Boise. Thanks to him, Max got into computers pretty early. By the time he was 8, he was already programming in BASIC. However, things started getting messy after his parents split in a divorce. Max was just 14 at the time, old enough to feel everything but too young to handle those feelings. Sometimes he was completely chill, and other times he was an impulsive maniac. His hyperactive personality started causing trouble in school when he first became interested in hacking bulletin board systems. Then came the real trouble. One night, Max broke into his own school and stole chemicals from the chemistry lab. And of course, when the school found out, the stunt got him kicked out and he was even prosecuted as a juvenile. Back then, none of this looked like a very big deal. Max just seemed to be just another difficult kid who couldn't stay still. However, as he got older, things just kept getting worse. By the end of his freshman year in college in 1991, Max found himself back in the courtroom, this time for physically assaulting his ex-girlfriend. But unlike last time, he wasn't a kid. This time, the judge gave him 5 years in prison. In other words, Max Butler was officially in the world of crime. And as you'll soon find out, it was just the beginning. By the time Max was out on parole in 1995, the internet had completely changed. The World Wide Web was on the scene now, and there were already around 19,000 websites up and running. Max knew it was his time to shine. But finding work with a criminal record wasn't easy. But fortunately, Max landed a job at one of the first internet service providers in the world, CompuServe. But yet his teenage hacking instincts were not going to leave him alone, and they were soon going to cost him his job and his reputation. Max started hanging out in IRC chat rooms, sharing things online like pirated software, music, and games. And soon enough, he was caught red-handed. Now, he not only had a criminal sentence to his name, he also had a career stain that would make it almost impossible for him to get another job. But Max being Max, he knew exactly what he needed to do. He changed his name to Max Ray Vision and moved to San Francisco. With a new name and a new place, Max was finally ready for a new life. And the best part was that luck seemed to be with him. Max secured a job as a system administrator at a gaming startup in Silicon Valley. But what's more was that there was an even bigger twist in his life. The FBI was now officially watching him, but not in the way that you might think. This time they were actually looking for his help. The FBI wanted to crack down on a new wave of cybercriminals, and Max's experience in software piracy had kinda made him famous. The feds wanted him on their side and Max was all in. And in March of 1997, he officially started working with the FBI. A few months later, he joined another company as a freelance penetration tester, helping companies make their websites hack-proof. Max had officially become a white hat hacker now. And to top things off, he also married the dream girl of his life. Things were finally turning out great for Max. He had a loving wife, a beautiful home, and a great career, all while doing what he loved, hacking. But then, if Max's story had a fairy tale ending, you wouldn't be watching this. What actually happened next was quite the opposite of happily ever after. Max's obsession for hacking flipped his entire life upside down. Let's jump to the year 2006. Max now had long hair tied back in a ponytail. The last few years had not been kind to him at all. As he dove deeper into hacking, he made the grave mistake of breaking into the Pentagon's computers to fix a security loophole. It was almost like he was playing Robin Hood, but his good act landed him an 18-month prison sentence. And by the time he was out, his wife had left him and so had his job and his money. He had tried hard to get a good job again, but it wasn't as easy anymore. This drove Max to his breaking point where he lost everything. But there was only one thing that hadn't changed: Max's deep love for hacking. He had always been a hacker, but he was done being the good guy. Now he was out of prison, but this time he had a partner, Chris Aragon. The two had shaken hands in 2003, exploiting Wi-Fi technology to carry on cyber attacks. Wi-Fi was a game changer for hackers at the time. It shielded their real server location and made them untraceable. But hold on, what exactly was he doing with Wi-Fi as his shield? The answer was an old term that was picking up pace in the online underworld at the time. They called it carding. Max identified vulnerable targets in savings, loans, and credit unions, then programmed Trojan horses to attack those vulnerable targets. Using complex techniques, he even managed to steal credit card data from big players like American Express and Citibank. Once he had the info, he would pass it along to Aragon, who would then send his team out to withdraw cash from ATMs until they had drained out the accounts. And in late 2005, the duo set up cartersmarket.com, a website for selling and purchasing stolen credit card information online. Max gave himself a cool online alias known as Iceman, and Iceman had it all figured out. He had a new girlfriend named Charity, and a good, albeit illegitimate, online business. However, this was all just the beginning of his master plan. He was about to pull off his greatest hacking operation yet, and the world was not ready for it. It was now August 14th, 2006. It was a warm, sticky morning in San Francisco's Tenderloin neighborhood. Iceman rode up the lift of his apartment building and walked into his studio. He was fed up and frustrated with the carding scene. There were just too many small carding forums that were taking away customers from his business. And the worst part was, none of it was as good as his own website. They had poor security, poor administration, and poor moderation. And Max had decided it all had to change now. And Iceman was ready. He had been doing his homework for weeks, spotting vulnerabilities and security holes in these websites. And now it was time to make his move. Iceman sat in front of his monitor, getting ready to get to work. He was about to hack into 4 of the most popular carding websites of the time: Scandinavian Carding, The Vouched, Talk Cash, and Dark Market. His hacking marathon lasted 48 hours straight. It was a lot of work, but for the impulsive maniac in Max, he actually found it really exhilarating. By the end, he had stolen credit card info, user data, and even chat logs from the websites. Everything was gone, and once he was done, he wiped the data off these websites. And just like that, 4 websites serving thousands of criminals across the world were all gone in the blink of an eye. Iceman wasn't done yet. He reinstalled the stolen data on his own carding forum. And to wrap things up, he sent a mass email to all 4,500 users he had migrated, telling them what he had done. By August 16th, Carter's Market was the largest online criminal marketplace ever, with a whopping 6,000 members. Suddenly, everyone in the criminal marketplace knew the name Iceman. As for Iceman, he thought he was playing Robin Hood all over again. But what he didn't realize was that he actually made a huge mistake. He was setting the stage for his own downfall. And the countdown had just begun. If there was one smudge on Max's grand takeover, it would have to be Dark Market. Hacking Dark Market had been pretty easy, but there was a hidden twist. Unlike the other websites, Dark Market had backed up its data, and it got back online within a few days. However, the real threat to Iceman wasn't Dark Market itself, but it was actually a Polish spammer who administered the website who was known online as Master Splinter. But guess what? Master Splinter wasn't actually a Polish spammer. He was an undercover FBI agent named Keith Malarski. Malarski and his team had been watching Iceman for a long time. They had already caught a guy named Gianni for selling some illegal data dumps sent by Iceman. Thanks to Gianni, the FBI now had two pieces of crucial info. One, Iceman lived in San Francisco. And two, he had a partner named Christopher Aragon from Orange County. Digging further, the cops traced down Iceman's real name, Max Ray Butler. Aragon was arrested in May 2007, and Max, he could feel the heat closing in soon. In June, he shifted to a new place and changed his name to Daniel Chance. But it was too late now. The feds had already caught up with him. And when Aragon identified Butler's picture, they had everything they needed to arrest him. However, let's not forget that Max was no amateur hacker. He knew his illegal activities had become large enough to attract the attention of the police. And that's why he had a promising security solution: encryption. Butler used DriveCrypt, a software to encrypt his hard drive so even if the cops managed to break into his safe house, they wouldn't be able to access anything without a password. And without any evidence, they would have to let him go. Max thought he was untouchable, except that he had overlooked a big flaw in his plan. As long as his systems were running, the password was stored in the RAM. So when the cops stormed into his apartment on September 5th while he was sleeping, he had no time to shut down his computer. It only took a while for the forensic experts to retrieve the password and access everything on Butler's hard drives. And just like that, Max's time was up. He was taken to Pittsburgh and pleaded guilty of wire fraud, stealing millions of credit card numbers, and defrauding people of over $86 million. And on February 12, 2010, Max Ray Butler got a 13-year prison sentence. Back then, it was the longest prison sentence ever given for hacking. And that was the end of Max Ray Butler's hacking activities. And if we fast forward to today, Max was released in April of 2021. He's now back in the real world somewhere. Nobody really knows what he's up to, but tell us in the comments what you guys think. Have 13 years of prisons killed his hacking obsession, or is it still running in his blood? Tell us in the comments while we prepare yet another amazing story for you in the next one. Thank you for watching, and remember, the truth lies in the details.